Hi friends, it's Gwen. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here to try a chapter of 5 thrillers that I had on my TBR shelf and decide what I'm going to be reading next. So I'm still in a thriller mood after reading a couple of recent thrillers, and I want to dive into another thriller, and I was trying to decide which one to read, and 5 were really speaking to me, so I pulled them all off and I said I'm gonna try a chapter and see which one immediately sparks my interest, because that's been a problem lately, books not immediately pulling me in, and that's what I'm looking for. So I have 5 thrillers here. I'm going to go ahead and show you all of them, and then I will report back after I read the first chapter of each book. So the first one on my stack is The Last Mrs. Parrish by Liv Constantine, and my husband recently bought this for me at Target, so it's okay, even though I'm still in a book buying ban that I got a new book. But I wanted this one because Jacqueline from Weeby Bookin recently kind of said that the vibes were similar to Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Parrish, which is one of my all-time favorite thrillers, so that's completely why I bought this book. And I don't want to go too much into the synopsis of any of these, because recently my friends and I have been talking about thrillers and how having read the synopsis of some thrillers and then you read the book, things are really like kind of spoiled for you, like unintentionally, but still spoiled. Whereas if you don't read the synopsis, a lot of times, maybe something that's not, you're not expecting something. So yes, I'm not going to be going into like a synopsis of each of these, but just know that they're all thrillers, and if you're interested, I will have the Goodreads linked down below, and if you want to purchase any of these, I will have that linked down below as well. So yeah, so this is my first one. Really looking forward to trying this one because of the recommendation, the comparison to Behind Closed Doors. The next one is The Perfect Wife by J.P. Delaney. I've never read anything by this author before. This is kind of a chunkier book. It doesn't seem, it's got the deckled pages too, so I don't know, but I remember like being totally into like all of these. Like that's why I buy books, because I really like the synopsis when I initially hear about it. Okay, the next one is a pretty popular one, and that is The Chalk Man by C.J. Tudor. I also have another book by C.J. Tudor up there on my list, but this one was calling to me because I know like Kayla has read this, Gabby has read this, and it just sounded really good. So yeah, I figure I'll give this one a go. The next one I picked up at the book exchange, and it was just kind of like on a whim, but I like that AJ Finn blurbed it, and it is The Woman Inside by E.J. Scott, which is also an author I've never read from before. And the last book is one I am slightly intimidated by because it's so chunky. Again, it's over 400 pages, over 450 pages, and it has deckled pages. So I don't know how I feel about that, but that is Pieces of Her by Karen Slaughter. And I've read one other book by Karen Slaughter, and I liked it. And it was twisty and turny and very psychological. This one, what if the person you thought you knew best turns out to be someone you never knew at all? Okay, I've already read the first chapter of The Last Mrs. Parrish because it is so short. It was only a couple of pages, but I think this is going to be like a con story because it opens up in the perspective of Amber, and she's at the gym, and she's saying like that she doesn't like to work out or anything like that, but she's there for like one reason and one reason only, and she like fakes this dropping of a magazine, and right in front of this, you know, other person working on the elliptical beside her, and then they end up going for coffee, and she's kind of like, you could just see her like, ha, I have her right where I want her. So that sounds really good. I'm immediately intrigued. It was only a couple of pages, but I'm already interested because I love a good con story. What we're gonna do is The Perfect Wife by J.P. Delaney. I don't know how long these chapters are. I didn't really look. This one is only a couple of pages as well. So let me read these couple of pages and I will check back in. All right, I just finished the first few pages of The Perfect Wife, and I'm already confused but interested. it started and I was reading the first page and I was like, oh my gosh, there's too much description. I'm not gonna like this. Like, please no. And then on the second page, it started getting good. I was like, oh, she's waking up in a hospital bed and there's been an accident, and oh my gosh, like, is this gonna be an amnesia story, or like, is it gonna be finding out like who caused the accident or something like that? But then at the very end, something I have to explain, my love, he says, taking your hand in his. Something very difficult, but you need to know right away. That wasn't a dream. It was an upload. What? What is going on? That's crazy. So yeah, so I am intrigued. I'm really intrigued about this. This one is The Chalk Man by CJ Tudor. Let's check how long the first chapter is. Oh, there's a prologue, and then, okay, this is difficult because there's a prologue, which is like 1 page and like that much at the top of a page. And then the next thing is just like the 2016. And then it jumps into 1986. So I think I'm just going to read the prologue and that first 2016 bit because these other chapters have been pretty short. So I only think it's fair. Okay, luckily this one wasn't like super intriguing right off the bat, but I did want to read you this last little paragraph from the prologue. It says, "It never came. There were extensive searches, questions, and appeals, but despite the best efforts of all the detectives and all of the townsmen, her head was never found, and the girl in the woods was never put together again." That was super clever. But yeah, so yeah, I like the other two better already. All right, next up, we're gonna try The Woman Inside by E.J. Scott. Let's see how long this first chapter is. Okay, it has a prologue as well, and then it goes into part 1. And part 1, or chapter 1, is actually, it's 17 pages. So we're going to be here for a little bit. I'll read the prologue and the first chapter, and then I will check back in. I would say this is not a good sign because I'm only on page 6 and I'm confused. The prologue was confusing. Yeah, I don't know. It kind of leads me to believe like something happened between her and Paul and the basement in the house. And then part 1, sorry, my husband's starting to do yard work. But part 1, or chapter 1, crap, why do I keep saying part 1? Part 1, chapter 1, it's from Rebecca, and it says after, and it starts, I don't know, and it starts like that someone comes to the door, they were trying to have sex, but they didn't. And then on the next page, she talks about pushing pills for a living, and I'm already confused, and I'm like, I don't have time for this. I don't want a thriller like this, but I'm going to push through and finish the first chapter, but it's not a good sign if I'm already bored and confused. Okay, so it seems that Rebecca is the mistress and that Paul's, is that his name again? I already forget his name. Yeah, Paul's wife, Sasha, is missing. And that's all I've really picked up. I'm on page 7. That's how long it's taken me to read this. All right, diving back in. Okay, I finished reading the first chapter of The Woman Inside, and I think one of the reasons I was confused is there's actually 2 guys that the main character is talking about. They're talking about Mark and John, and those are such generic white boy names that I'm probably gonna get them confused the entire time. The main character gets fired from her job. I don't know what happens in the prologue. I've blocked it out already. But in the first chapter, she works for this pharmacy company, and I guess she's like a pharmacy rep, but she ends up getting fired because of things, but also because she's taking too many of the pills and stuff like that. And she goes to her savings account, and they're gonna, like, her and her husband are gonna run away together, and or her and somebody's gonna run away together, and her savings has been drained by her husband. So she's trying to find out about that. And I guess that's really it. This is not it, you guys. This is not it right now. I think if I was to read this, I'd have to start all over again and like really start paying attention. So yeah, this is at the bottom of the stack so far. So the last one that I'm gonna try is the Karen Slaughter book, Pieces of Her. And I think this is being turned into like a movie or a TV show or something like that. This is the last one to try. All right, let's see how long this first chapter is. Opens with a quote from Emily Dickinson. It also has a prologue that's just a page, and then it starts August 20th, 2018, chapter 1, and it is also quite a few pages. Okay, it is 23 pages. Okay, I finished the first chapter of Pieces of Her, and I was really bored. I was at like page 17, and I was just like, oh, this is dragging so much. I did kind of find where the title, Pieces of Her, came into play. It was on page 15, and it says, okay, occasionally after a few drinks, Andy could show these same qualities to strangers, but once they got to know her, they seldom stuck around. Maybe that was Laura's secret. She had dozens, even hundreds of friends, but not one single person knew all of the pieces of her. So that's where it comes from. Andy seems to be our main character. Laura is her mother. And I guess 3 years ago, Andy is Andrea, and Andrea's mom, Laura, called her. She was living in New York with a couple of roommates, but things weren't going great for her. But her mom called and said, hey, I have cancer. The doctor's going to do surgery. They're going to do a biopsy and all of this. And Andrea, they go by Andy in this book, she goes by Andy, immediately dropped everything and went home, and she's been staying there ever since. And it's her 31st birthday now, and she's in a diner with her mom, and her mom's basically saying like, everything's okay now, you don't need to be in this rut anymore, like chase after your dreams, everything's good now. And it's kind of boring, you know, it's like nothing's really happening, and you're just kind of hearing the backstory. And then all of a sudden, I guess her mom is like some kind of doctor or something, and sorry, that light is like not working for us. Former patient's wife comes over and like thanks her and says like, oh, you're a miracle worker. And then she calls her daughter over, and they're all having a chat. And then a guy, all of a sudden, the two women that they were talking to get shot and killed. And then he thinks that Andy is a cop because she works at this like as a 911 dispatcher, secretary-ish type thing. And I guess her uniform kind of makes her look like a cop. So the guy wants to shoot her, and her mom, Laura, steps in and says like, no, shoot me, shoot me. And then her mom turns out to be a badass. The front here, like the little tagline is mother, hero, liar, killer. How can you tell when all you have is pieces of her? So I think this is gonna be Andy discovering all of these secrets of her mom, because another part of the first chapter and stuff was like how perfect her mom is, and how like well put together she is, and how respected she is, how smart she is, how beautiful she is, how like, you know, she's this perfect person. So I am interested in this to like see where it goes from here, but I'm not as interested in some other stuff that I've read. I have books that we read: The Last Mrs. Parrish, The Perfect Wife, The Chalk Man, The Wife, what was it? The Woman Inside, and Pieces of Her. So I'm immediately taking out these bottom ones, because ever since I read these, like neither one of those immediately pulled me in, and these had really short first chapters, and I was immediately interested. Now the first page of this was a little bit harder than like this one I was immediately interested, but between these two I thought that we could look up the rating on Goodreads, and the one that has the higher average rating I will read first, and then I'll probably pick up the other one, whichever one isn't in the first place, and read that one next. So these are probably going to end up on my May TBR, so look out for these. Oh, and it does have a different cover of the hard cover. That's what the other cover looks like. So this one has a 3.89 and it has 96,000 ratings. So 96,517 ratings. So I think that that's pretty good. So that's that one. Lots of 4 stars. Gabby from Gabby Reads gave it 3 stars. Let's see. Ooh, Heather from the Bookables gave it 2 stars. Ooh, this is crazy. I don't know. Some people really weren't liking it, but Gabby also didn't like Behind Closed Doors, I think. So, and I really liked that one. Okay, so that has a, let me check it again. 3.89 was it? Yeah, 3.89. Now, The Perfect Wife, on the other hand, which seems like it's going to have like a little bit of sci-fi in there. Okay, has a 3.70 with 12,970 ratings. So that is The Perfect Wife. So in a turn of events, I'm gonna read The Last Mrs. Parrish by Liv Constantine, and then I will probably pick up The Perfect Wife. Yeah, I think I'm adding both of these to my May TBR, but definitely look forward to me reading this over the next coming days. You'll probably see me read this in one of the live shows, possibly. Maybe this one, because maybe I'll be done with this one. So who knows? But yeah, I'm really interested in both of these. I'll be reading this one first for sure. And if for some reason I hit a roadblock and I'm not enjoying it, I have a backup plan. So that's all for today's video. Thank you so much for joining me. I love these triad chapters because you do get a good sense of like, how's the writing going? How's the pacing going? And you get like a little taste of what the story is going to be about, especially in thrillers. And like I said, I will have the Goodreads linked down below. And if you want to purchase any of these books and read along with me, I will have the Amazon link for you down below as well. But that's all for today's video. I hope you're having a lovely day or night, and I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.